Just imagine this. Your boat's engine is dead. The radio has stopped working, and everywhere you look, there's nothing but water. No land, no rescue in sight. Now imagine living like that not for a day, not for a week, but for 14 straight months. This is the story of a fisherman who disappeared into the ocean and came back alive. But the price he paid will leave you speechless.
It's the kind of unbelievable story they made.
Jose Salvador Alvarenga.
A fisherman in El Salvador.
Esta exclusiva, Salvador Alvarenga.
The Pacific Ocean is so massive that if you drilled a hole straight through the Earth, you'd come out in this same ocean, covering 165 million square kilometers. It alone is larger than all of Earth's land combined. Mountains, deserts, forests, everything. And the few islands scattered across it are nothing more than tiny dots by comparison. This is where our story begins. November 2012, Jose Salvador, an experienced fisherman from a small village in Mexico, set out on what was supposed to be a simple 30-hour fishing trip with his partner. They carried just one day's worth of food, a small 23-foot fishing boat, and an icebox. They had no idea that this one day would turn into the most terrifying 438 days of their lives. They had barely dropped their fishing net when a violent storm hit. To save their lives, they abandoned the net and rushed back toward shore. After 6 exhausting hours, they were only 20 kilometers away from land, just that close to home. But then fate took a cruel turn. The boat's engine failed. They sent one final radio message, waited for a reply, and then the radio battery died too. They were now completely cut off from the world. Powerful winds pushed their boat in the opposite direction, farther and farther into the open ocean. The shoreline they could once see slowly disappeared hour by hour. Within just 5 days, they had drifted nearly 450 kilometers away into a part of the ocean where no ships passed, and no rescue was expected. Now the real survival test began. Their food was gone, so they learned to catch birds with their bare hands and started eating raw fish. To stay alive, they collected rainwater in bottles, and when it didn't rain, they drank the blood of fish and sea turtles. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a mental battle that became more terrifying. With every passing day, the months dragged on. Eventually, Jose's partner could no longer endure the nightmare. He took his own life. Now Jose was completely alone in that endless ocean, with no one to talk to, no one to give him hope, only silence and water. 6 months later, a cargo ship appeared in the distance. For the first time in months, hope returned. Jose did everything he could to signal for help, but the crew never saw him. The hope that had come back for a brief moment disappeared once again. 11 months, 8,000 kilometers adrift. His clothes had fallen apart, and only a pair of underwear covered his body. Then, in January 2014, he spotted coconuts floating in the water. Jose knew that meant land was nearby. Terrified of missing his only chance, he jumped into the ocean and swam to a small island, Ebon Atoll in the Marshall Islands, nearly 11,000 kilometers from where his journey had begun. After 438 days, Jose saw another human face for the very first time. But the story didn't end there. After returning home, Jose wrote a book about his survival. However, his partner's family accused him of murdering his companion at sea. The man who survived 438 days battling death now had to prove that his own story was true. So the next time you hear someone say, something is impossible to survive, remember this: sometimes the human will to live runs even deeper than the ocean itself. If this story left you speechless, let me know in the comments. What would you have done in his place?